All right. So once you have all your pieces, we're going to set this up to be laser cut. But instead of having to unroll each piece individually, we're going to use a script that's going to help us out. Um, just to show you how it works, I'm going to load the script. I'm going to go to Tools, Rhino Script, Load. I'm going to go to Add, and just make sure you have this downloaded and it's on your desktop, and you're using the one that's called Separate Unrolling New. Just open it. It should show up here, and just double click it. And as soon as you do, it's automatically running. So select a surface. For now, let's just select all of them. And as soon as you press enter, the script starts to run. And as it's running, you can still navigate and zoom in and out. You can see that it's unrolling each one of these and it's putting a tab on them. And if you zoom out, you'll notice that it's now laid out all these individual pieces. I'll select one and zoom in on it. Right, so it has its individual label. The nice thing about this, the updated script, is once it makes the text, it's now grouped. And then you have your individual cut piece. Right, but before we start getting it ready for the laser cutter, I'm going to show you a few things with the script. I'm going to undo this. Control-Z. Zoom selected around this object, so if you just type in ZS enter, it zooms around here. The original object I'm going to hide. Just type in hide. One thing I want to pay attention to is after I have all my unrolled pieces, I'm going to select all of them, and I'm going to click on this icon, Analyze Direction. And what this is going to do, it's showing me the direction for every surface. And for now, what I want to do is I want to make sure all my arrows are going in the exact same direction. Either they're all facing up, they're all facing down. But if you have one that's going in the opposite direction, just click on it and it changes the direction. And the main reason for this is depending on how the arrows are facing, if they're facing up or they're facing down, your unrolled piece will come out either flip side up or flip side down. So these arrows do make a difference. And then once you've everything is okay, just hit enter to accept those changes. Alright, so we're going to run the script one more time, right now that I've fixed the direction of my arrows. So I'm going to go to Tools, Rhino Script, Load, New. For now, I'm just going to I'm going to do a few of them. I'm not going to do all of them. Just to point out a few things. Alright, so the first thing I want to point out is the size of the text compared to the object. Right? The nice thing about this is because it's grouped, I can very quickly scale this down and move it over and make sure that it fits on here. Right. Just so I don't have to spend too much time having to rescale this, I'm going to open up the script and scale the actual text. So I'm going to hit Control-Z a couple times until I'm back here. I'm going to zoom select it around this object. And I'm going to open up the script now instead of just running it. So go to Tools, Rhino Script, Edit. And if you need to, mine's already open. If you need to, just go to File, Open. and open up this separate unrolling, the new script. So this is essentially what's running in the background. Let me open this up a little bit more. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the size of the text. So if you scroll down far enough, on line 74, it says height equals 10. So for example, I can now change this to, just going to get rid of that 0. You do have to be very careful when you're editing a script though. Always have the backup of this script just in case something happens to it. I'm just going to just get rid of the 0 without changing anything else. And I'm going to run the script from inside here. I'm going to say run script. And again, I'm just testing this out, so I'm just going to do a few pieces. And I can see it's already starting to run. So there's the size of my font now. It's smaller. If you need to adjust it even more, you can. Like if it's still coming out a little bit too big or too small, depending on what scale you're working on, you could always adjust it, 0.5, 2, however you need to. At least now you know how to adjust this. The other thing I want to adjust is I really don't want this underscore. So in Rhino, I'm going to undo this. If you, by any chance, lose your object, if you type in ZE, enter. ZE is zoom extents, or some students say zoom everything. It just fits everything on your screen. Now we're back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to scroll up a little bit. I'm going to go to line 52, where it says it has a underscore. So after this is how it's labeling everything. So I'm just going to get rid of the underscore. If you want, you can change the letter, but it needs a letter to actually work. If you put anything else in here, it's going to give you errors. But you can change this letter to whatever you like. And obviously now if you run it, it's now changing the letter that's here, as well as changing the letter that's where it's being unrolled. Zoom selected, zoom selected. So now it's changing the location. So you can pick any letter that you want that works best for you. Again, this size is probably still too big. I can tell, if I did a quick measurement from there to there, it's telling me that it's 1 inch. But obviously I know that because I changed it to 1. So again, if it's still coming out too big or you don't want to change it, you don't want to mess with it, just edit this letter, this number so it's slightly smaller or larger, however you need to. The other thing we're going to change is the distance and the spacing of this thing. Right now they're just too far apart, so even if I'm in my top view, if I'm trying to get this ready for the laser cutter, I'm still having to zoom in and out quite a bit. So what I want to do is I want to put a point, just a single point. I'm going to zoom into the middle of the grid. I want to put a single point right at the 0, 0 mark, but I want to make sure it lands on the 0, 0 mark. So I'm going to turn on grid snap, snap it to that grid, and then turn grid snap back off. And I'm going to type in distance, and I'm going to take 2 distances from there, or just a few, to that first point. And it's telling me that it's 1,000 inches. I'm just going to keep these numbers in mind. I'm going to type in distance again, or I just hit the space bar. And now go to the second point. It's 2,000 inches. And the spacing between each point, 500 inches and 500 inches. So just remembering those numbers. If I look through here, I can see where the spacing is happening. So if I go to line 32 and line 36, I can see those same numbers again. So in between the points, I have 500 and 500. The first row of points, it's happening at 1,000. The second is happening at 2,000. So I can now start to adjust this. So instead of saying 1,000, I want 500. And instead of 2,000, I'm going to change this to, let's do 600. And instead of them being spaced apart, well, let's just try this for now, 500 and 600. Come back into Rhino, undo this, Control-Z. Until all those pieces are gone. Zoom selected. So I'm going to run the script. Again, I'm just testing this. I just want to do a few pieces. So now it's not as far away from the grid, right? So my first point is 500 units away from the center. Second point is 600 units away from the center. So it's a little bit better, but they're still spread apart quite a bit. I'm going to Control-Z. I'm going to come back to my script, so I'm going to change this to, instead of 500, I can change it to 100. Run the script. And now they're a little bit closer together. Obviously, if you want them closer, you can always come back in here and adjust them. So I'm going to hit Control-Z. So at least now you know how you can start to adjust some of these variables. And the last thing I want to do is I'm just going to pretend I'm getting this ready for the laser cutter. So I'm going to come back 0.5 for my height, and I'll leave this at 500, change this to 550, change that to 50, change that to 50. Alright, I'm just going to run the script with all my pieces. The one thing you want to pay attention to is do not assume that the numbering is always in order. So like for example here I have 1 is at the very top, and then it jumps down to 2 down here at the bottom, and then it works its way up. It all depends on how these pieces are made. Sometimes what it'll do is it'll start running and it'll skip one and then continue, and then it'll go back to that one that it skipped. So just pay very close attention to these numbers as you're putting this together. Don't just assume that they're automatically in order. So now these are a little bit better spaced, so I don't have to zoom in and out so much. Right, my font size is working for all of them. This is kind of in the way, so I'm just going to move this. So now I can just very quickly, an easy way of just setting this up for the laser cutter. I'm going to get rid of all my points. I don't really want them, so I'm going to type in select, SELPT, select point, and just delete them all. And just to set this up for the laser cutter, a fast way of setting this up, right, I'm just go to my layers, make 2 of them. This one is cut, cyan, and score, which is blue. And here what I can type, because all of this text is grouped, instead of me having to go through here and individually select every line and say I want those to be in my cut layer and those to be in my score layer, which will take some time. Because all of these are grouped, what I can do is I can type in select group, and it's giving me a list of groups to select from. If I just select them all, and hold down Shift, it should have selected all the text, and I can very quickly just change all of it at the same time to the score layer, change object layer. I can turn that off. Select the rest of it, change that to the cut layer. So now essentially all my pieces are ready with the correct color. The only thing I need to do is just make sure that there's no interference. This is my very top piece. I believe it is. I don't want to see that yeah, I1 is the very top one. I don't want to see that first one get cut with the label, right? The same way I don't want to, you necessarily don't want to have that part that's showing for the wooden dowel. Right, it's just and for aesthetic reasons. So this first one, I'm just going to put this off to the side and just so I know that it's still there. And just to make things easier when I go down the line, getting this ready for my cut sheet, I can just select all this, just group it. Again, you go to my top view, it's a little bit faster. The same thing there, that one's ready to go. Group it. That one's, yep, that should work. Group that. Group that. So all these pieces, if you don't have to arrange anything on the text, then you just need to individually group them. I'm just tapping the space bar again just to speed things up. If for any reason you do need to adjust anything, for example, if your text is in the way of the cut score, or for any reason it's just sticking outside, then obviously you just need to rearrange it and then group it. So at this point, once you have all your pieces that are ready to go for the laser cutter, if they're all grouped, then once you have your sheet, I'll just make a quick 18 by 32. My 18 by 32 sheet. And because these are all grouped, I can start to just organize these individually, and it just makes it a little bit easier than having to select all these pieces. So once they're here, like here I kind of messed up. So instead of having to very carefully select all these pieces, again they're grouped, so I can just rearrange them on the sheet a little bit easier. And save a little bit of time. So again, once you have all your cut pieces ready, then you just laser cut it and assemble your model. And if you want, you can then resave this this script. But again, as long as you have the original, the backup, in case you accidentally changed part of the script, as long as you have the original, you can always just go back to the original.